Oh, what's up, Philadelphia sports fans? I am Anthony Pinto,
And I am Greg Hall.
and welcome to the War Room. We are War Room Philly. Greg. Oh, by the way, special guest Greg Hall in the house tonight. It's always a pleasure when we have you on, specifically Greg, or any of my co-hosts. It's fantastic to have the company. So it's nice to see you tonight, and of course catch Greg at We Podcast and We Know Things. And selfishly, I'll plug not your latest episode, but the episode prior to that, where I was on and we did some Pokemon chat, and that was fun to nerd out.
Yeah, dude. Just two crossovers in 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's better than the DC universe.
It's better than the Marvel universe at this point.
It's true. Oh, yeah. we got Joe Heston already live and direct in chat. What up, Joe? What up, everyone out there? But yeah, this is wow. We took a couple weeks off to get ready for this show tonight. It is jam packed.
That's an understatement.
This is it's gonna go over an hour. Bold prediction.
And we can have one thing to talk about, but when I'm here, I talk so damn much. We're going over an hour anyway.
Yeah,
that's just what it is.
I think what did you say we could be going until Monday or something? Or
Friday morning.
Friday morning. Yeah, absolutely. So we got a lot to get into tonight. The Eagles have made a plethora of moves. Some good, some head scratching, some maybe even just flat out bad. We'll get into all of those. The Flyers have finally done something noteworthy, albeit it still has angered us all.
Danny Briere's kid pushing someone down the stairs in a wheelchair, or pushing the wheelchair down the stairs.
I saw that briefly too. I said Briere's in town for how long, and this dude's already screwing.
It's a shame that the general manager getting fired isn't the more tragic story of the week. It's wild.
So we got all of that. Some World Baseball Classic, as you guys can see, I'm donning my fresh. I'll rock the back for chat, if you can say it just once at least.
He said, "I'll rock the back for chat." I love that.
The Schwerber. Some World Baseball Classic talk. We'll get into that. Greg, there might even be a Union Minute. I word on the street. And then
a couple of games into the season, yeah.
Sixers are flying. They're looking primed for a second round exit. So look
again.
Look, you guys have been around long enough to see what I did with the pom poms, and now I'm just gonna go in with. I'm trying a different attitude. I'm gonna be super jaded towards them. I'm gonna pull the Joe Heston method of fandom. I'm just gonna attack them at every being, watch them every game, and like Greg ridiculed me for not having the World Baseball Classic on before the show because I had the Sixers on. Watch them every game. But
I got Puerto Rico and the Dominican on right now. A little 4-1 Puerto Rico action.
Fantastic, yeah. And again, the World Baseball Classic. I mean, let's just hop into it. We can ease right into this thing. Let's talk a little World Baseball Classic, as we got again a ton of Philly sports to get into. But before I kick it to you, Greg, because I know how heavily invested you are, I want to start off by saying this one in particular feels the most heavily invested I have been. Not only am I just watching, I'm not just watching Team USA games. I find myself watching, Great Britain and Canada was the other night. Like, I'm coming home from work, turning it on. And I gotta be honest, I think one of the biggest reasons is if you turn a game on, you're gonna see 2 to 7 Phillies. Like, they're everywhere, and it's so great.
And they're all performing so well.
It's
everyone.
It's really fun to see. And as a baseball fan, I've been taking it all in. But yeah, this one in particular for me has stood out. And I think mostly it's because I'm paying attention, but it also feels like Team USA is kind of taking this thing a little bit more seriously. Obviously, they won the last one, right?
2017.
So obviously they started taking it seriously then too. But it's like it feels like this team's bought in, really good roster, some Phillies on it, as we pointed out on Facebook. But is it just the Phillies, or is it in general? Has this World Baseball Classic been a better product?
It's like a mix of both. I think for the casual viewer, this tournament hasn't happened in 6 years. 2020 it was supposed to happen, but the pandemic wiped that out. And so this was supposed to be the seventh World Baseball Classic. However, it's only the sixth. And if you asked me, I mean, Marcus Stroman in 2017 had like a perfect game through 6 innings, I think, when they beat Puerto Rico for the gold medal, or the title, I should say. There's no medals, but like that's all I remember from that tournament, because I didn't care as much. And that's because partly the Phillies were still kind of irrelevant. 2017, I think that was the year they brought in Jake Arrieta and Carlos Santana, who just like broke TVs and stuff. Like nobody in the city cared about baseball at that time. So it's really tough to get up for a tournament where there's not a lot of local representation. On top of that, your local team stinks and the Eagles are in the Super Bowl. So they're the best team they've had arguably ever, that 2017 team. So all the focus was off of of baseball and into football. I think that's part of it. From a national perspective, however, you finally have Cuba, who's advanced the farthest they ever have. They're for the first time ever allowed to have major leaguers on their roster. We know there's a lot of things going on with Cuba as a nation, but now they're allowed to have major leaguers. And you have every team basically has a sprinkling of major league talent. Canada has Freddie Freeman, even though he got hurt. Canada also has Philippe Aumont and Scott Matheson, 2 former Phillies. But point being, every team's got something to watch. And I love that aspect of it. I mean, the opening game of the tournament was Cuba and the Netherlands. And it's 11 o'clock at night, and I'm just sitting there watching this game, and it's Xander Bogaerts, and Didi Gregorius is playing first base and like getting knocks. And it was just crazy fun to watch. And, what I think this tournament has shown me was that the pitch clock, or the pitch timer, as they want us to call it, is not only here to stay, but it is an improvement. Because I will admit, I've watched parts of almost every single game, and they're dragging, man. They're 4 hours, a lot of times, and it's just like, let's get this show on the road a little bit here. I want my 2.5 hour games back. But it's that contrast of, you're watching spring training right now, and it's meaningless. There's nothing to it. There's no consequences. If a veteran struggles, it's only spring training. If a rookie does well, he's the next greatest thing. Let's not worry about that. It's spring training for everyone. I want to watch baseball that matters. And I think that's a big part of it. People are watching spring training going, these results are meaningless. Let me at least go watch something that matters.
Yeah, and again, just to piggyback off of that, you're still getting that Phillies taste, and with all of it, and you're going, these guys are performing when it matters. That's
every Philly has done something.
That's
not one
bode
Philly
well. And I've said this in our group chat. I think I expect the Phillies to come out to a pretty hot start, and then probably the June, maybe not June, because Schwarber's going to start hitting like crazy. In that May month, they'll probably struggle, and you'll feel maybe the absence of Bryce Harper. But I think that this team is going to kind of come out with like a rocket up their ass, as D would say, because I think, they're the least rested, which is, can be a bad thing, I think, down the stretch. But right now, they're still kind of fresh off this World Series loss. And I think that the fact that all of these players are playing in meaningful games will bode well. I think they're going to get that little XP bump at the beginning of this season.
For me, I think there's like a hidden thing of this too, like why the World Baseball Classic is probably the most relevant it's ever been, at least in this country. It's huge in the Asian countries and the South and Central American countries. They love that, dude. Miami and Arizona, they're selling out for Team Mexico and Team Colombia and Venezuela and all of that, because it's a beautiful thing to see this game being international. But I think something that us as Americans overlook, and why it's getting a little bit more popular. Now, I'm a sucker for international competition. I just always have been. I love it when club and country kind of come together and there's something big on the line. The World Baseball Classic actually means the world, not like the World Series, which is literally just North America. So like, I love that aspect. What did we just have this past summer? The World Cup. So we just had this giant international tournament, which the U.S. did okay in. And it's kind of gotten that like sustained hype a little bit of, all right, Team USA back in relevancy. Oh, great. There's another international competition I get to watch. It kind of stinks because the games are at 5 and 6 a.m. and 10 and 11 p.m. On the East Coast. So that's been a little difficult, but I'm an early riser anyway. It's been cool to watch, Team China versus the Czech Republic at 5 a.m. It's pretty neat. I like that. I just think that that's pretty neat that for the first time ever, I'm super invested. I know a lot of other people are, and it's been cool. And you know what? The games are on Fox and FS1 and FS2. Like, people have those channels. This isn't Tubi,
Yeah, for real. Did you see the clip of Ohtani hit a home run in one of the games, and
They passed the ball
people were
around.
just like passing it around to take pictures of, and I was just like, what a culture difference.
Have you watched any of the Japan games? Specifically Japan.
I haven't got a chance to do it yet, and I'm pretty bummed about it because I want to watch them. I want to watch
They're
them, and I
one of-
want to watch Korea.
They're one of the host cities. Japan is. Well, Korea got eliminated, so good luck with that.
I'm gonna watch them on VOD.
They got eliminated. Australia took that spot, and they lost to Cuba today, so they're out too. But specifically Japan, they're a host country. A lot of the games were played at the Tokyo Dome, including all of Team Japan's. When Team Japan is pitching, nobody talks. The crowd stays silent. You could legitimately hear a pin drop, and it's just wild. They want to pay so much respect for the art of pitching and let the pitcher concentrate on his task that they don't speak. And I'm sitting there like, what a great culture. I just love the Japanese culture. I love everything about it. And they have such respect for the game of baseball and their athletes as a whole. And when you have somebody like Ohtani who pitches 4 shutout innings and then hits a 440-foot homer, it's cool that he's a national treasure there, but he's also our national treasure. He's the best player in the game. I just love that we have that symbiotic relationship between other countries, and it's a good thing for baseball. It's a shame he's on the Angels, but next year he'll be a Dodger or a Met, and everything will be fine.
Or a Met. Oof, I don't know about that part of it. As far as the
sadly, I do.
I mean, as far as the everything will be fine part, if he's a Met, panic will ensue.
I mean, for the game of baseball.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Not for us.
I'm selfish.
Yeah, not for us.
For me, the game of baseball means the Phillies are winning.
I think it's legitimately 60% Dodgers, 39% Mets, 1% everybody else. That's how much I think Ohtani is going to end up with one of those two clubs next year. He is a free agent. He's going to get $500 million. But, this isn't the Ohtani show, but still, he's the best player. I love watching him play.
Yeah, and just because I've seen it a couple times in chat, it's worth mentioning while I have it on my mind. But first time, Greg, in our lifetimes, that no City 6 team is in the tournament, and because I'm seeing some like, screw the tournament, let's watch this, and it's like, yeah, I agree. I didn't do a bracket.
Me neither. First time ever. Since I've been
there's none of the
an adult.
My brackets. I always, even when like I know it's a joke, I'll do 2 brackets, but usually I'm taking a bracket and I'm Nova, whatever team's in, I'm gonna take them as far as I can go and then work the rest of the bracket out.
Yeah, but, Michigan's not in either, and Michigan's been my team forever, so I have no reason.
I'll watch, especially
tomorrow and Friday.
Tomorrow, right? Yeah, like during the day. Yeah. What else am I gonna have on the computer in the background or in work? Like it's gonna be on. Sure. So but like, man,
on the 10-year anniversary of LaSalle going to the Sweet 16, they came within 2 wins of making the tournament as a 15 and 18 team. They went pretty darn far in the A10 tournament. They lost to Fordham by I think like 6 or 7. It was wild. Fordham was like 21-7, and LaSalle almost beat them to get to the finals of the A10. So we were almost the Cinderella story again 10 years later. I say I went to LaSalle. That's the only connection I have.
Yeah, and just to add insult to injury or whatever, first of all, the fact that Nova accepted the NIT invitation is laughable. What's even funnier is they got bounced first game. Yeah. So good for you. You deserve that. If you're gonna go to the NIT, you deserve to get bounced one and done.
Damn, dude. I thought the NIT was a nice little consolation prize. Apparently not.
Not for, like, I respect.
Not for prestigious universities.
I saw what North Carolina did, and they said, no, we're going to focus on next year because we don't give a shit about the NIT. Nova has won 2 national championships in our lifetime. Now, I get it. You're rebuilding. It's not Jay Wright there anymore. It's this coach wanted to probably get some tournament I guess practice or experience is the word I'm looking for in, but it was a bad look. Bad look. But yeah, it's about as much college basketball talk as we can afford today because this is a jam-packed show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we can. Anything else on the World Baseball Classic?
It's been great. Like, I just want to harp on this. If you haven't been paying attention, we said it twice already, but it's worth going just a bit deeper. Every single Philadelphia Philly has done something great in this tournament. Whether they're a prospect or a regular in the lineup, they've done something. Kyle Schwarber, massive 3-run homer. JT and Trey Turner, multiple hits, multiple RBI in their opportunities. Taijuan Walker, 4 or 5 shutout, 1-hit innings, 8 strikeouts, hitting 97 on the gun. He was dominant. Jose Alvarado got a save for Venezuela. Well, he didn't get the save. They were up by 4, but got the closed out the game, we'll say, for Venezuela over the Dominican.
Made it dicey.
Huge one.
Made it very interesting.
First and third one out, but then he threw 102, so everything was all right. But like Garrett Stubbs with like a game clinching double to the opposite field for Team Israel to get their first ever win. Like, it's been so much fun to watch all of our Phils doing well. It stinks because you have somebody like Ranger Suarez who was supposed to pitch. Now he's got an injury. He went back to Clearwater and he's been pushed back a little bit. He might be all right to open the season, but like those types of things. Stubbs, he hurt his knee, so he's been out the last couple of games. He's done because Israel's now done. So it stinks, but we have done great things. The Phillies, quite frankly, should be super proud of their entire representation across the WBC. And as somebody who only used to watch All-Star games for their guy in it, this has been awesome to watch, to finally be rewarded to have our guys play in this tournament. And it makes me psyched for 3 years from now for the next one.
Yeah, I know at one point, like my dad texted me, I see him in chat, Joe Hunter, imagine if Harper was on this team. And it's like, you can go down the line for days with like other Americans, but yeah, like I could see a world where Harper wants to get involved in one of these things.
And then Pete Alonso, who hit 50 homers and 108 RBI or whatever, has to sit. Like, that's how good the USA's lineup is. Their pitching, their bullpen's very good, but their rotation's the thing that if they don't win this tournament, it's because that's the reason. Adam Wainwright, Lance Lynn, Nick Martinez. I like Merrill Kelly. He's pitching tonight for Team USA. I think he's their best starter, actually. Kyle Freeland, like, their rotation stinks on ice, but the rest of the team is so good that you hope to outslug teams because, quite frankly, the USA got it right. Your starter only goes 3-4 innings. Your bullpen is what you need to rely on. They have a great bullpen. Meanwhile, other teams' bullpens, their guys in AA, single A, their country's pro league, whatever. That's where you win the game. So you hold. My strategy is hold until the 4th or 5th. If you're still in the game, then attack the bullpens, and then that's where you kind of make as much noise as you can. I'm not a manager. I'm not Mark DeRosa, but it's a great lineup, good roster, good enough to win, quite frankly. So I think it's either the U.S., Japan, or the DR who's going to win it all. But I don't know if the DR might get bounced tonight if they lose to Puerto Rico. I can't remember. I think they actually might, which would be crazy because they were the favorites going in.
Do you think DeRosa's got
no?
No.
Nah, DeRosa's not a manager.
He interviews well.
He does because he's funny and he's got like those little quips about him, But no, he doesn't. He's hitting Trey Turner 9th.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing, bro? What are we doing? Hit him at the top of your lineup. I know you have Mookie Betts, then hit him second. Like, I hate, but he's got Trout. So it's like, it's crazy that you have to find a place for Trey Turner, who has the most hits in baseball over the last 4 years and can steal you 1 million bags. I think it's funny, but no, I don't think Mark DeRosa is ever going to be a major league manager. I can see him as like a bench coach or, a base coach, something like that, first base coach. I don't think he's going to be a manager. I don't know. Maybe a team will take a chance, but I don't see it.
Just because I see it in chat, and we'll move on from the World Baseball Classics shortly. But this is from Nick in chat. It says, thoughts on Scherzer's comments moving the World Baseball Classic to mid-season so better pitchers are more likely to join?
Nah, every 4 years you see the NHL has to take that Olympic break, and it completely just throws everything off. I would hate that. Pitchers are already warned. I don't believe pitchers would be more into it because they're in their routines at that point. pitchers, when they start the season, they want every fifth day, take the ball, do their thing. You break that up with a World Baseball Classic midseason, I don't see that happening. So yeah, I wouldn't like it either. I like this where I have the contrast of spring training meaningless and then this for a little bit of oomph. I like it now. So there was just an inside the park home run, Puerto Rico. Just hit it inside the Parker.
Yeah,
Like that's cool.
My only compromise to that would be maybe you do it shortly after the World Series.
Yeah, but then guys have been pitching for 33 starts and they want to go home.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So
this is their spring training. This is their warm up.
Yeah, so I think it's I think it's and look, just like the Olympics, you don't always get all of the. In fact, I think that's why they started to do away with pros in the NHL. Are they just did they are they back with that, or are they not NHL players in the Olympics? I forget because that was in years. Was it? Well, I'm talking about.
This is the least. I don't care.
I'm talking about in because of. Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Who cares? It's almost irrelevant.
Yeah. Sometimes I go down holes, and you know what? There's plenty of other things to talk about tonight. So I digress. But yeah, as far as to stay on to Nick's comment, yeah, I think
he had another one actually earlier. He said concerns on Zach Wheeler. Rough spring so far. No, I'm a huge raise your hand if you're huge proponent of the 6-man rotation, at least until the All-Star break. That's what I would do if I almost said Nick Sirianni. If I was Topper, I'd go 6-man just to give Wheeler and Nola that extra day after every start. They're workhorses. They had pitched so many innings last year, and they're both struggling, quite frankly. Nola settled down nicely today against the Yanks after giving up 1 run in the first, but like both of them are struggling. It's spring training. For pitchers, I don't really take too much into it. Hitters, I actually think their results matter a little bit more. What they're trying to do with the ball. Can they take it the opposite way? Are they hitting line drives? Are they striking out too much, taking walks? That all matters to me. Pitchers don't, because sometimes the manager will go out and they'll come up with a game plan. Hey, just throw your cutter. You're working on a cutter, go throw it. Or with 2 strikes every time, throw your changeup. Try to get that out pitch going. And that's the command. They don't care about the results. As long as they make their pitches and they feel good about that. That's all that really matters. So for me, the Nola, the Wheeler struggles, I don't care too much, really at all when it comes to pitchers. I am concerned that both of them will spend time on the IL this season based on their what am I trying to say? Like their workload. I think that they might do what they did last year where they gave Ranger a random month off in July. They gave Sir Anthony a month off in like July or August. Wheeler hit the IL late. So I think that that's what'll happen. But even today, Christopher Sanchez, Nick Nelson, 2 guys fighting for that rotation, both got hurt. Ranger, hurt. Andrew Painter, hurt. Their depth is getting crushed right now. I just don't know what they have in the tank ready to rock. I mean, Michael Plasmeyer is probably going to make a start here and there for the Phils this year.
Yeah, to that point, yes, I'm a big proponent of let's do the 6-man rotation as soon as we can get 6 healthy arms out there.
Right, that's kind of the key.
let's as soon as we have 6 healthy arms, let's get them out there and get them going, and let's do that until ideally the playoffs. Or until the playoffs become part of the regular season, where it's like, all right, we're in the thick of this. We have to start playing for seeding. That's when maybe Bally Falter or Painter, whoever your back end of the guy, your back end rotation guy is. That's when I would say that they would fall off. But yeah, 100%. I want that 6-man rotation as early as possible and as off like throughout the whole year. I think keep it consistent. That tends to be kind of Topper's MO to be consistent anyway. So I think once
sometimes to a fault
sometimes. Yeah. So I would say get that in place as soon as you can. It would be great to start off the season that way. It feels weird as Phillies fans to want a 6-man rotation, but again, just given the circumstances, everything you said already with the workloads of 1A and 1B, I want those guys ready for what I'm hoping for is an October push.
Well, they're not doing it out of an analytical advantage. They're not doing it because that's the organizational philosophy. They'd be doing it because of, like you said, the circumstance. Because they went to the World Series last year and their horses were horses, and they want to give them a little bit of a breather. That's really the only reason I can see it happening. And now, when Michael Plasmeyer is that potential sixth man until Painter, who might not throw a pitch until June or July, um, that's fine. Here's what I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised as if we get closer to opening day and you have some starters sitting out there still unsigned and or get cut from other teams. That's when Dombrowski swoops in with minor league contracts for some, just veteran guys who are just innings eating arms. Yeah, I think I got that right. Just to give them some depth that they quite frankly don't have right now. I wouldn't be shocked to see that. I don't have any names off the top of my head, but that's what I think. I think we're going to see one starter at least signed to a minor league deal at the end of March, right before opening day, and that'll be that. We may never see them in the majors. They may get released 2 weeks later, but that's what I think could happen. I don't think they will go with a 6, just to be on the record. I can't recall a Phillies team ever doing a 6. The Angels are really one of the only teams that really employs a 6, and that's just because of Shohei. So I can't imagine they will. I just wouldn't mind a world where you give Zach and Aaron just a couple extra days I think that could be a very good thing for this one season, just so they can kind of be fresh, because this is supposed to be a playoff team again, and I want my horses there when they needed most.
Yeah, and that 6-man rotation plan also, when I divulged it in my brain, like a month ago or whatever, maybe even more than that, when we were talking about it last, like, that was also because I envisioned a Painter, that could be in there, and I wanted him to be the 6th man to kind of work him in throughout the whole season, and ideally I want him pitching down the stretch as long as he's ready, willing, and capable. But yeah,
I wanted a 7 for a minute. I wanted Wheeler, Nola, Ranger, Walker, and then Falter and Painter would alternate 5th starter spots, and then Plasmeyer.
Okay.
And then you go back through it. So one time through, it's Wheeler, Nola, Ranger, Taiwan, Painter, Plasmeyer, and then the next time through, it's Falter instead. I know that that's stupid. That's why I only had it for 5 minutes, because you're just wasting 2 bullpen spots at that point. But I just want anything because this team is going to be able to compete. They can hit with anybody, even without Bryce. They can hit with anybody, so they're going to be in it. And the other wild card teams, the Giants don't scare me at all. The Brewers don't scare me at all. The Cubs, the D-backs, those teams that are kind of up and coming, they're not ready yet. So right now it's Dodgers, Padres, Mets, Braves, Phils. That's where I'm at. So that's kind of the division / wild card races. So they're going to be in it, and who knows what they're going to do at the trade deadline. But that's for another day.
Yeah. Any other Phillies? Anything else in Phillies land? Because I'm gonna cross two off the list while we're in this baseball section of the show.
Here's the deal: you can't ask me that question because I'll come up with Phillies.
I just want to make sure
for hours. I have one thing. One that I haven't talked about yet, and I really want to. Scotty Jetpacks.
Oh, I meant to bring. I'm glad you did, because you were talking about players doing well, and I wanted to interrupt you and say, well, what about Scott Kingery?
Scotty Jetpacks is in his last year of his 6-year, $24 million contract.
We're really there already.
He's got a $13 million option. $13 million option for next year. So he's playing for that, even though we all know that will never, ever, ever, ever be exercised. He could break the home run record, and we're not exercising that option. However, we need a right-handed outfielder. We just do. Jake Cave has been incredible this spring, and I think he's going to win the outfield bench spot, but he's another lefty, and you already have Schwarber and Marsh as lefties. Sosa does not look good in center. It does not look natural. Kingery at least can do it. We've seen it before. I know we threw him around like a rag doll, but we've seen it do it. If he knows I'm here to play center field for when Marshy needs a spell, and that's my role on this team, I think he could win a job. I think, however, unfortunately, that sacrifices Derek Hall. So you have to, if you're Topper and Dombrowski and Sam Fold constructing this lineup and this roster, you have to ask yourself, do I want Derek Hall, who will DH basically every game against a right-handed starter unless Castellanos needs a day off from the field and you put Jake Cave right and Castellanos would, DH or something like that. Is that going to be the case? Or do you want Kingery for his flexibility when you already have Sosa? So I think at best, Kingery could make the team as the last, but you're sacrificing Hall. But I think what Scott Kingery is doing right now in spring, as we all know spring training results, he's actually making himself a slightly attractive trade chip if the Phillies eat a majority of that salary. He might be able to be a throw-in or net you a semi-decent prospect, something. So I think Kingery will factor into the 2023 Phillies in some way this year, whether on the field or a catalyst for a trade.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask during that, like during you talking about that, I'm like, well, then could he potentially be a trade factor? So you answered that question already.
The Phillies eat $4 million. They pay him the prorated $2 million salary, and in turn, the Phillies take a guy who's on a bad expiring contract. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's at least in a position of need, or he's a pitcher, a bullpen guy, something like that. Like I could see it being like a financial dump type deal for two teams, and it just so happens to be that. Like I'm trying to think of an example. I guess technically Carlos Santana for Gene Segura back in 2019. However, we gave up JP Crawford in that deal too, who was our prospect of the future for shortstop. So I'm struggling to think of one right now, but it's possible. It's
Yeah,
possible. I'm a Scotty guy. I like Scotty.
They happen a little more in the NBA, but I don't want to.
Everything happens in the NBA.
I'm not quite ready to hop over into that sport yet.
In the NBA, you get 14 first-round picks for a guy I never heard of. I don't understand the NBA's salary cap and or trade structures. It's so wild.
It's magical.
It's so wild.
So yeah, I want to move on to a team that we haven't really talked about since, and because deservingly so. But the Philadelphia Flyers are on the radar. Chuck Fletcher is no longer general manager. It only is at the least since October too late, or August, when he couldn't deal JVR to get Johnny Hockey here. If he should have been fired then, should have been fired before then. But Chuck Fletcher is gone. Danny Briere, as I pokingly predicted, is the interim general manager. And what do you think about this, Greg?
Chuck Fletcher should have been fired the day he gave up a second-round pick and a seventh-round pick to trade away Shane Gostisbehere. That's the day he should have been fired. He should have been fired again when he traded a first-round pick for Rasmus Ristolainen and then gave him a 5-year Andy McDonald-style extension. He also should have been fired. Now, I'm not a I wanted Johnny Hockey, but it was for selfish reasons because I actually wanted to watch a good player, not necessarily thinking he was going to make us a better hockey team. Of course, we all wanted that, but his inability to make something happen in the trade market is another reason he should be fired. Not just the JVR thing twice, but a guy like Kevin Hayes, a guy like Justin Braun, who you literally brought in just to trade again. Even back to the Giroux trade, I know he kind of dominated where he wanted to go, and he had that say, I want Florida or Boston or Colorado. I forget what the exact thing was, and they were kind of hampered by that. But still, that return was weak. Owen Tippett's a nice player, but like it's kind of weak. And so, and he also put together a roster that doesn't suck as supposed. Oh, and the Sandheim extension. Thank you. I think that was Joe. This roster was supposed to suck a lot more. They were supposed to hashtag suck hard for Connor Bedard, and they weren't. They were like in the thick of it 2 months ago, and they're starting to get back to where we need them to be. Terrible. They have the 5th worst record in hockey, so it is still realistic we could somehow end up with the first pick and get a generational talent like Connor Bedard. I was about to curse. That stuff don't happen to the Flyers, so like I doubt it. They'll probably get the 5th pick and then take somebody that we've never heard of, but this franchise has been an embarrassment for years. for years, and a lot of that is Chuck Fletcher. He gave Kevin Hayes 7 years, dude. Like, what are you doing? You know what? His worst move, trading for Ryan Ellis. Ryan Ellis has played like 6 games
Yeah.
in 2.5. Like, come on, dude. It was a terrible trade.
His worst move, all of them.
All of
them.
All
and
of them.
and the ones he didn't make.
Nick DeLaurier gets a 2 or 3 year deal. Like, what? You could have waited for Wayne Simmons, to get waived like he did, pick him up for nothing, and there's your enforcer and your power forward on the power play. So, like, Joe Heston's asking in chat, would we trade Carter Hart? Danny Briere can trade Carter Hart. Chuck Fletcher? No. If you're going to trade the best goalie we've had since, I can't even think. I don't trust Chuck Fletcher with that move at all. So it's great to see he's back or gone. I would have loved them to go external, but they did for Chuck Fletcher and they botched it. So fine. Danny B gets the interim tag. Let's see what he can do. He admitted to a rebuild. So let's see what that means. We haven't been relevant for years, and now it's going to be another 3 to 5 year process before we are again. So Flyers hockey is going to be irrelevant for quite a little bit here, but at least there's a plan. I think as long as the current ownership is in place, that plan will always have a ceiling, but the winds of change are a blowing, and at least I can appreciate that.
Shit wins.
Yeah. I mean, it ain't the good wind.
But I see ownership and look, I hear this thing about ownership, but I am so tired of acting like Ed Snyder was a good owner. Because he wasn't since 1993.
He was a fan-friendly owner.
Yeah, just because he spent
he was
money
not a good hockey man
and cursed. Like, I'm sorry, man.
He was very loyal to the Flyers brand.
Literally, Greg, when we started this back in 2011, I remember people going, "They're never going to win until Ed Snyder dies." Literally, what they would say in chat. Literally, like, this isn't me being an asshole, which I can be all the time. People would say that he needs to die. And, well, I got that wish because Father Time, he catches up with everyone. But
I gotta
go. It's still ownership. Now it's still ownership. So it's like, yes, ownership is the problem. I agree. But let's not act like Ed Snyder just because he spent money when there was an uncapped league that didn't make him a good owner.
No, he was very loyal, though, to Flyers hockey. Like, he would be like, all right, who was the Flyer that meant a lot to the fans? Give him the key to the city. Yeah. Give him the GM title. And that got us into a lot of trouble because we didn't have an analytics team. We didn't have really good hockey men for today's game because the Flyers were stuck on the Broad Street Bullies crap for 15 years longer than they should have been. Probably 20.
Yeah.
Darian Hatcher and Mike Rathje? Really? And they got a nickname. I don't want to say the nickname because they don't exist. Well, they got rebuilt. But, like, the things that they were... Brother, in 2001, the game wasn't about 6'7" defensemen who couldn't move. It was getting to speed. It was Peter Forsberg. It was that. And, oh, by the way, we had Forsberg. And so, boy... Like, we have just been stuck on, we need to be the tough team, da-da-da-da-da. And then you see him try to get back to that now, and that was immediately retconned because it's not the way the game should be played today. The game is a speed game, a finesse game. You don't win by just being the Broad Street Bullies. I would honestly be happy if I never heard that term again.
Yeah.
Ever. Except to talk about the cup teams from the 70s. That's it, dude.
Yeah, it's... I see it in chat. The 70s Flyers mindset has to go. And
yeah, I agree.
Again, this was something that I ranted on in 2012 and 2013. It's nice to see that other people have caught on to it. It just sucks that it's 2023 now, and this team is irrelevant. And we're literally only giving them like airtime on this very populated show because they, did something, albeit a few years later. It's to stop like shit posting on Danny Briere. I want the guy to succeed. I absolutely do. As far as my Flyers fandom goes, who doesn't love Danny Briere, Mr. Playoffs himself? that being said, the jaded Flyer fan in me, I need to see it before I'm going to buy in and believe it. So right now, I just, we'll put that. They're gonna go back into the drawer, and we won't talk about them for quite some. We might not talk about them until a Carter Hart trade, which, by the way, I never answered. I would not do.
Yeah, me neither.
What's that?
Me neither.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I know that like.
Sandstrom and Ersson have been showing flashes, but they don't have the prospects. Well, they do. They have some good goalie prospects, but they don't have a proven commodity, and you don't win without goaltending. So, yeah, I love Carter Hart.
Generational talent. I also, if you look at the history of goalies can have a long shelf life. In fact, some tend to get better as they go later in life. The more they learn, see, pick up. I think Carter Hart still has a lot of developing to do.
He needs a good team in front of him. Finally, he doesn't have that.
100%.
He hasn't had that since the bubble in 2020.
By no means, I'm not here to like diss his game or anything. I'm only here to talk about Carter Hart in a positive way because I still believe that he is a franchise player, and maybe you need to trade him to kind of realign your rebuild or whatever the terminology it is. And
if you get 2 first-round picks, I would start to think about it.
Everything has its price, but again, the philosophy, me personally, I would stay away from it. But
good question in chat. Are there any Flyers you wouldn't trade?
Carter
That's
Hart.
a really again though. Even if we're not going to contend for 5 years, okay.
That's the thing though. I do hear that side of the argument. I get it. I would like to compete in at least.
But at the same time, the young players need something to latch onto, so every game's not a 5-1 blowout. You need some building pieces, and Carter Hart's young enough to still be a part of the future after the rebuild is over. So that's why I would hang on to Hart if you're not getting 2 firsts and a prospect at minimum, like stuff like that. He's a franchise goaltender and maybe even 3 firsts, and that's a hefty price, but that's where you really start to think about it. Selfishly, I wouldn't trade Cam Atkinson because he's my favorite player in hockey. So there's that. When he got traded here, it went from 6 to midnight, and it stayed at midnight till midnight. So I'm very, very in love with Cam Atkinson. I wouldn't trade him. I would say, though, in reality, Konechny, I think, can still be a really good player. Farabee, Frost, Cam York. Oh, my gosh. I'm missing one. Who am I missing? Scott Lawton. And that's just because he's been here forever. He loves it in Philly. He's played over 500 games. He's kind of like the dude when it comes to the RJ Umberger kind of guy. Like, he's never going to be the star, but he's just the guy. I love Scott Lawton. So those are probably the only players I wouldn't trade, albeit if I'm Danny Briere, I'm listening on everyone.
I see. TK would be. Yep. But again, I don't want to start just going down through the names of Flyers and asking if we want to trade them or not, because we got a ton of Eagles talk to start getting into. But yeah, Travis, for me, the only guy on that list is Carter Hart. I think that he is the only one that could be there on the other side because of the reasons that I mentioned earlier. As far as
I disagree. Joel Farabee, 100%, dude.
Yeah.
100%. And Cam York, like they're dudes. Tyson Forster, he's brand new. Bobby Brink, like there are guys who can be on the other side of this rebuild. I just don't think a guy like JVR, obviously expiring contract, but like Kiefer Bellows, don't care. Any of the defensemen. And here's the big one. Man, we missed the mark for not trading Provorov. Got to get Provorov out of here. He's not going to be here. He doesn't want to be here while you can get something because he's having a better year this year than last. You got to move him. So I would expect, not even hope, I would expect Provorov gets dealt this offseason at the draft. That's like almost a prediction.
Sounds good. Yeah, as far as anything else, would you do, this is from chat, would you do Hart for, I can't even read this name, Draisaitl?
Yeah. Edmonton wouldn't do that trade.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not in a million years. Draisaitl's already over 100 points. Like, he's the second best player. He would be the best player on any team besides his own because he has Connor McDavid.
Yeah, this dude's having like a generational year right now.
He's every year for him's a generational year.
Yeah, but this year's
I
even
stay up late to
more.
watch. I stay up late to watch the Oilers because they're just so
Yeah,
much
yeah.
fun.
All right. Well, unless you want to hop in and do a quick Union minute, we can start doing some Eagles talk. But did you actually have a Union minute planned? Was this?
It's not necessarily like I'm not going to go player for player. The Union season just started. Here's the downfall. If you don't know,
No, I
um,
know. I mean, I.
MLS
It's funny because like I don't care, but I know because I hate this. I hate this
MLS
so much with a passion.
is now exclusively on Apple TV Plus with
I
the
hate,
MLS
I
season
hate the word
pass.
exclusive.
I hate the word streaming. So, um, they are no longer accessible on your television screen on a standard cable channel. They are on 97.5 now. 97.5 did pick them up this season after they were on The Gambler, Fox Sports The Gambler, with Sean Brace and them last year, but or maybe the year before. But regardless,
I think both actually, but yeah, yeah.
I will not order the season pass. So this will be the least amount of Union soccer I've ever watched in my life. Is exactly I watched one of their games because it was one of the free games they give you every weekend. They give 6 free games every weekend. So anytime the Union are featured there, I will watch them. The really only thing I want to talk about is this team has the potential to be better than last year's team. Last year's team had one of the most explosive offenses, probably the most explosive offense in Union history. They're not going to accomplish that. However, Andre Blake, the best goalkeeper, maybe in MLS, is hurt. I don't recall if it's serious or not, but that's a big thing. But they're only 2 games into their season. They lost the MLS Cup in more heartbreaking fashion than the Phils lost the World Series. Obviously not at that same scale, but they had the lead in extra time and they gave it up and then lost in PKs. Like it ripped the hearts of Union fans out, and it happened to be on the same night the Phils lost to the Astros in Game 6. I won't compare it to the Super Bowl. That's a whole different animal. But I think this team has the potential to finish at the top of the Eastern Conference again. I think they have the potential to win the MLS Cup. However, if Blake's injury is serious and this offense does take a little bit of a step back, it will be a struggle. I won't watch any game that ain't free, so I can't give you the same type of analysis that I normally would because I'm watching them. But from what I see, from the highlights, from this, that, and the other, Twitter, all that, this team's got a lot of potential. Apple TV Plus, $7 a month. I think 8 actually now. Some great original series if you're a TV fan. But if you do it for the sports, you'll get the MLS season pass, and Friday Night Baseball, I think, is coming back again. You get like 2 or 3 games every Friday night on Apple TV Plus for Major League Baseball. So there's some value there. I'm just not going to be in on that value this year.
Yeah. I don't understand, especially a league like the MLS, who's trying to grow their fan base as much as they possibly can, why you would go for such a cash grab and just take the easy money and go streaming and like alienate any chance you have at a casual fan base.
It's because now all the games are in one place regardless of market, where in Seattle, maybe the Sounders aren't on the regional sports network. They're on some random channel that nobody has. And they have a feeling now that if they're all consolidated in one place, you won't have Union fans just watching Union games. You watch them all. And they feel like they can get more sticky customers if they do it that way as opposed to regional. Either that or ain't nobody paying for regionals because Bally's about to go out of business and they're getting bankruptcy and there's 14 MLB teams. They're going to lose their RSNs. So like, be thankful we have NBC in this area because they're going to be just fine. We won't be affected, but that's part of it. It's the regional sports networks kind of going bankrupt and getting sticky customers with having all games in one place. It's just not something I'm into.
So moving forward, out of the Union minute into, and now we can settle in for the chunk of the show that is kind of, has the airwaves of Philadelphia and Twitter kind of lit ablaze as of late. The Eagles have made a plethora of moves, and more recently you have you got your big 3. Let's start with some positive. You got your big 3 back: Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, and Jason Kelce, all back, which is fantastic. All three of those pieces, all three of them still play at a high level. All three of them extremely invaluable as far as locker room guys go, and culture to this team and city. So all three of them being back is, at least in my opinion, it was necessary. It's not even good. It was a must do. All three of them coming back on 1-year deals. Jason Kelce, the highest paid center in the game, he said, "Nah, I don't need a team friendly deal. I need a me friendly deal." But that's okay. He has earned it. It's
Gotta fund that New Heights pod.
You got it. Why you don't need advertisement when you get. They probably have it too.
They have plenty, dude. With Fireball all day on that show. I can't listen to it anymore.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I clips. I get the clips that go viral, but no disrespect to those guys, of course. So I know I'm sure it's a great product. But yeah, just going off of what's
he said under his breath. I'm sure it's a great product.
Did that not sound sincere? I meant it to sound sincere. I swear. I still sound sarcastic. What the hell is wrong with my voice? But yeah. Getting just down to here's what's on the Philadelphia Eagles website. But you got release Brett Toth, the Brandon Graham, Jason Kelce. Rashard Penny to a 1-year deal. Boston Scott to a 1-year deal. James Bradbury to a 3-year deal. Let's start with Rashard Penny, who you and I have talked about off air, but I want to hear your thoughts on air now that, especially because we know the terms. When you and I talked about it, it was pretty much immediate reactions. What do you think about? And let's not talk about just Rashard Penny. Let's talk about the 3-headed monster that could be.
4, man. They like Trey Sermon.
Trey Sermon too. What do you think about the running back room as it is right now?
So Miles Sanders signed with the Panthers tonight, right? His contract details just came out. He got 4 years, $25 million. Okay, he's getting $6.25 million a year. That's more than the entire Eagles running back room combined. Tells you all you need to know.
Yeah,
because Penny was 1.3, I think, with a chance to make 2.1. Boston's at 2. Gainwell's on a rookie deal, and Trey Sermon is on a rookie deal. So you're getting 4 running backs for the price of Miles Sanders. That's where Howie is excelling. I hated the Rashard Penny signing at first. I think my exact words to you were no. I hate it. I think that was the exact text. And then the terms came out. And it's a 1-year deal for very low AAV. There's no such thing. If he gets hurt, oh well, he gets hurt. But when he's healthy, he's an absolute beast. 6 yards a carry, north-south runner. He's going to do it. However, I don't think he's ever played a full season. So what I think Sirianni needs to do, and was it Brian Johnson? I can't even remember the OC now.
Yep, yeah.
What they need to do is figure out a way to rotate and keep Penny fresh and not a 15 to 20 touch back, right? He's your first down back. He's your second down back. Gainwell's your third. Trey Sermon gets a couple spells in there. I know Nick and Shane love to hand it off to Kenny Gainwell on 3rd and short for some reason, but I'm sure he'll still get those touches. And then you have Boston Scott in the red zone because he just finds the goal line. So, like, if you find a way to rotate Penny and not make him a feature back, there's nothing really to hate about the deal. You know it's not going to end well from an injury standpoint, but if it's managed correctly and he can stay healthy, it could potentially be the steal of this free agent class for the Eagles, to be fair.
Yeah, I tend to think that Gainwell will be your feature guy come season end.
Because Penny's hurt, or because Gainwell is more efficient than Penny?
Yes. For one or both of those reasons, yes.
Fair enough.
So, admittedly, I was high on the Gainwell pick when they drafted him.
Same.
But let's move away from that. What have we seen lately from Gainwell? His best football of his career in the playoffs when it mattered most. I can even let's pull up his. I think he even had a decent Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, Miles sure didn't.
I don't know.
No Eagles running back really did.
I don't think I want to look up those numbers. So forget it. I'm not
no Eagle had a good Super Bowl from a running perspective.
I was going to look it up, and then I started to get a sick feeling in my stomach, so I'm not going to do that.
I mean, Rashad Penny's a damn good football player. It's just the fact that he cannot stay healthy. And I think you have to as a football fan be able to separate those two things. You can't say a player sucks because he can't stay healthy. That doesn't mean he sucks. It doesn't mean he's very unfortunate or he doesn't take care of his body the way he needs to. When he's healthy, he's a very effective football player. 6.1 yards per carry or whatever it was is nothing to scoff at. It's just one of those things where you're going to get 6.1 yards per carry for 8 games and you need it for 17. So that's why I'm a 10 to 12 touches a game. Don't kill him type deal and just get him in there. Use him kind of like Blunt, maybe like Jay Ajayi. I really like the rotation they had in 17. I could kind of see that working again with Clement, Ajayi, and Blunt. I like that. I could see that kind of being 2023's angle where it's like Penny for 10 to 12, Gainwell on third down and passing down work. Boston Scott at the goal line. Trey Sermon takes the breather away and gets 3 touches a game or whatever. I think that could work. And then inevitably, if and when Penny gets hurt, I honestly think you're going to see a lot more Trey Sermon than you think you will. I don't think Kenny Gainwell gets first down touches because they love him. They love him on third down. I don't think that they would do that, to be fair. So either Howie goes out and gets somebody else, they draft someone this year, which is still a possibility, or they actually give Trey Sermon a pretty good workload if Penny does get hurt.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about the Trey Sermon thing, and I just, where was he last year then? Like, I know he came in, he had a decent showing in his 2 carries that he got.
Right.
But why was he just stashed away then if they're so
Because you had Miles Sanders in a contract year. You had Kenny Gainwell. These guys knew the system. You don't just plug in somebody who doesn't know the system and give him a feature back role. You just don't do it. The Eagles knew that he was on a rookie deal. He'd be here in 23. They knew Miles wouldn't, so they were keeping him healthy and ready. They didn't need him. If they needed him, we'd see him, dude. We'd have seen him if they needed him. That's my thought, at least. I think we're going to see more Trey Sermon this year than last year by a healthy margin. I mean, he had 2 carries.
Yeah.
It can't be much worse.
I mean, if he has 4 carries, he doubled his workload. So, wait, does that math check out? Yeah, I got it.
It does.
So,
good. That's a good counterpoint.
No, but we'll it's just with 4 running backs, and we're even talking about the possibility. It's like, how do you get the ball to so many people when you know you're in a pass happy league? And you're also have Jalen Hurts, who's going to have, 7 carries a game, just like a rough number. But
this team had an opportunity to sign Alexander Mattison. They didn't. They had a chance to bring back Miles. We all knew they wouldn't. They had a chance to bring in somebody like trade for Austin Eckler. They didn't. They kind of know what they're doing. They went cheap on the RB. They're going with the headed monster, however many number you want to go, and they're going to invest the rest of their money into their defense. I think that the low AAV for these RBs to kind of just get them back, because we know the offense is a passing offense where it's not Nick. I mean, we run the ball incredibly well and efficiently and a lot, but we all know their weapons are in the passing game with Devontae, AJ, and Dallas. So let's invest the money on the defense. We just got Bradbury back. There's a possibility CJ still comes back, and Slay still isn't technically released, at least as of 9/19.
Yeah, look,
tonight.
I ran through the Eagles what their official moves were. Slay is not on that.
He could be working out a deal to come back. You just not come back. Stay. He's never left technically.
He's tweeted out some cryptic things. He says, I'm gone. I'm not gone. And playing with my heartstrings right now. I'm a Darius Slay fan. I want him back at all measures, for lack of a better term. What are your thoughts on Darius Slay? And I guess here's maybe a better question: if one, who would you rather have?
Figured you were going to go that
him
way.
Or CJ? Because that seems to be the hot topic throughout Twitter.
If I had to pick, I'd go CJ strictly because of hybrid safety cornerback skill set. He can play either. We have a lack of safety right now. We need safety help. Reed Blankenship's really your only safety right now. And we can still draft a corner at 10. And I'd be very comfortable with Bradbury and a top 10 pick at CB, even as a rookie on the defense. I'd be totally fine if they went that route. I think from a culture and fan perspective, Slay's the answer. Like Slay is the captain, right? Very Malcolm Jenkins esque. Loved in the locker room, loved by the fan base. His wife is ingrained herself into Philly culture, tailgates with people, brings them banana pudding, like the greatest football wife ever. And there's a lot to that. There's a lot to be said for that. He is aging though, and CJGJ is what, 24?
Mm-hmm.
He's like 6 or 8 years younger. So I would, if I had to go one, I'd go CJGJ. He's the hybrid. I'd put him at safety, but he could play corner if an injury happens, and I'd draft a cornerback at 10, especially now with like Jalen Carter falling off the map here.
Dude's got
some issues,
charges in a case
he just stunk at his pro day, and he refused to do certain workouts and stuff. He's going to fall hard. So like, I wouldn't be shocked if that's the route they go, but they're going low for the AAV on the running back position to be able to fit in Kelsey at 14, Cox at 10. I don't remember what Brandon got, 6 or something like that. I think 2 years, 12 or something. But Bradbury's number, which at less than 13 is another steal. You got James Bradbury for less than 13 million over 3 years. That's insane. 3 years, 38 is a great deal to bring back Bradbury back. You can make him CB1. As much of a great relationship as he had with Slay, have him be the mentor to your top 10 pick. That could even be better. So I would invest in CJGJ from a football perspective, but I got to give it to you. Slay's my guy. I'm a fan. I like these dudes. I'd go Slay, but realistically with the old noggin, it's got to be CJGJ. What do you think?
Both. No, but if right now, my answer, 2 days ago was Slay and CJGJ.
Over Bradbury. Got it.
Now, if you can't,
well, now that's if
you happening. Can't do all three, which I would deem almost impossible.
Depends on Slay. I mean,
look, you deserve the money you want to get. I'm not refuting that. And if you want to go out there and get it, by all means, you're the best in the game. You're one of the best in the game. Go get that paper. I got it. So if he's gonna like all of a sudden take this huge discount, and we can fit all three, that's great. But yeah, as it currently stands, I would say you go and you get Gardner Johnson in here. Safeties like that you want to keep around. So at the end of the day, while maybe you're losing one captain but gaining another, because I do think that Gardner Johnson is the type of player that he's a captain. He's got that in him. He's young, and he's probably got to mold into it a little bit more. But he like, if you can remember one defensive play in the Super Bowl, I remember that hit that he put on, I think, the running back. Explosive hit like this. He gets after it.
Here's a tweet.
We got a tweet.
Josina Anderson, who's been all over Eagles free agency. I got to give her so much credit.
She's been
for the great job
since the Alshon Jeffrey era.
Like, good for her. She's been fantastic, especially this offseason. As of 9:15 p.m., so 10 minutes ago, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like the Eagles are having a hard time letting go of Darius Slay at the moment and still wish they could keep him. Let's see if Howie Roseman can find another rabbit in his hat, so to speak. No matter what, it's a worthy attempt. So there is absolutely a chance that Howie's trying to work his tushy off to keep this together. And you could potentially see CJGJ and Slay back. It all depends on the demands Darius Slay has. There could be, here's the way to do it. It's the dummy years. It's give him the dummy years towards the end of the contract, and there'll be dead money, all that good stuff. And that's how you do it to make it a cap hit that's friendly. It's just, is Howie going to keep doing that strategy over and over and over until they turn into an organization, which they already have the most dead money in football, that like half their cap is dead. So that's the risk you run continuing along that path of dummy years on contracts. But that's how you get this done if you want to keep all three.
Yeah, and looking at the safety market out there, it's not too many hot names too.
Well,
so
Bates is off the board, and he got his bag by the way. Epps is obviously gone. He went to the Raiders. So much for Jonathan Gannon, loving him. He didn't want to bring him to Arizona with him, but
Yeah, I'm going through and I'm like, who are these? Like, there's a lot of names, not a lot of substance though.
you can. But here's the deal, dude. You can draft a safety.
Ronnie McLeod's out there.
Now I'm good. You could draft a safety in the third round, fourth round, just like they did with Kayvon,
So
and
here's
put him
here's
back
my
there.
here's my thing with plugging and playing the theoretical draft pick. It's one, that player has to exist. Two, Howie has to hit on that player.
He's been great at that. Epps was a seventh round
again,
pick or an undrafted free agent.
I'm not saying I didn't mean that as a knock to him. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of a term, a lot of RNG, a lot of randomness to just go, no, we'll get a draft pick. We'll get a draft pick. At the least, I like when you get a draft pick and bring in like an aging veteran. Just as like an insurance policy.
Absolutely. We just talked about that with the Phillies rotation.
So,
I get that.
you know, if that's the case, I'm a little more on board, but just going in and going, oh, well, we'll get the, draft pick. Then that's where it's a little sketchy. But again, if you have a world where your three cornerbacks are Darius Slay, James Bradbury, and Avonte Maddox, maybe
all top 5 at their respective positions, and I say that for the slot specifically for Maddox.
Because Maddox isn't an outside corner.
He's a slot corner and he's damn good at it.
Yeah, keep him there.
Gotta stay healthy, though. Gotta stay healthy.
If you have those three coming back, maybe it takes some pressure off of needing a dynamic safety. And you saw, granted, Epps was in as well. Blankenship did come in and filled in.
He filled in well, though.
Yeah.
And he's got another year. He's going to be better. So if you had to go, if you draft a safety and it doesn't work out, you're telling me worst case scenario, I get CJ, GJ, and Blankenship. I can live with that if my cornerbacks are Slay, Avonte, and James Bradbury. I can live with that pair of safeties. So, like, it's not all bad because Blankenship is expected as another undrafted rookie to take a step forward this year. So, what concerns me more is the constant rotation of coordinators. We got a new OC, a new DC. Your D-backs coach left, and that's another problem with besides the who's going to be your DBs. Like, there's a lot of turnover in the coaching room. So I expect it's going to take time to get used to this new system, to gel to it. It could be a really rocky start to the Eagles season. You could see like a 1-3 out the gate before they really start to catch their legs and then finish, with 11 or 12 wins. Like, you could kind of see that. So, I say this with all due respect. I'd kind of be okay if they draft somebody. I'd kind of be okay with CJ, GJ, and Reed if that draft pick doesn't work out, or you can swap him and Reed Blankenship and, you go 50-50 on the snap count, whatever. I'm kind of okay with that. I don't know any safeties in the draft. I just don't pay attention to safety at all. So there's that. I could be talking out my arse, but I'd like to think that there's at least some sound logic in my argument somewhere.
Yeah. And just reading in chat, Howie's a legend with those 1-year fines. He's talking about Bradbury and White last year, trading for CJ. And this is why I'm not gonna panic until further notice. I'm upset about the Slay thing, but we also haven't seen the ending to this story yet. When he was quote unquote cut, I kind of saw red for a few minutes. I went off the deep end. I was untethered.
Didn't we all?
But, hearing and seeing on Twitter from the Slays themselves that this thing might not be over is maybe just giving me false hope, but it's better than nothing. So I'll take it. But this is this team. There's work to be done, and again, it's all about not pressing that panic button just right away. And I think that there's still the Hurts deal that's gonna happen eventually. It's one of those things that I tend to think that that's gonna happen before the season starts. At this point, I think that Howie might put everything in the row, from all things that I'm reading, it seems like both sides aren't contentious and they're kind of toe and toe with where they want this thing to end. So that kind of leads me to believe that Hurts is saying go finish up this team and then we'll work around it. But Hurts is going to get his number, and I mean that's just,
which factors into the rest of the team's decision making.
Yeah.
By the way, you have to have that in mind. So they gotta go young where they can.
Yeah, and that's again, once the initial shock wears off, we're not getting Miles Sanders, we're Rashard Penny. Oh, but okay, they're gonna go cheap. It's positions are gonna have to be cheap this year. That's why losing that Super Bowl hurts so bad. Because
you knew that it could have been the last time for a while.
You knew that roster wasn't coming back. Now, just because you're different doesn't mean you have to be worse. Just because you're quote-unquote less talented doesn't mean you have to be worse. Other players can step up. Other players can, do things to where they're, it's not a net loss. So, for me as a fan right now, it's just seeing, all right, here it is. It's you got your running backs, and it's not the room that I wanted. But again, I'm high on Gainwell, so I think that regardless, that room is fine. I also think that Boston Scott is a number 2 back, like a bona fide number 2 back for whatever that's worth. So I think that having that
worth
guy,
$2 million.
It's worth more than Rashad Penny.
Yes, this is also true.
So I mean, I think that. And if he goes down and you got the Trey Sermon, I think that is maybe where I kind of think you're gonna have Gainwell, Scott as one part of that depth chart, and Penny and Sermon as like the other part of the running back depth chart, if that makes sense. I think that Penny and Sermon kind of run a little more that straight ahead kind of style, and I think that Scott and Gainwell are more of that third down
Shifty.
running back, slot receiver, kind of slot running back kind of style. Darren Sproles-esque for like the lazy comp. That's so yeah.
Those damned 4-letter words.
Sometimes.
Believe me, I'm with you.
So yeah, I think that as far as this offense goes, again, we still got the draft. This entire team, there's a lot of work to be done still, and I just want this Slay thing to conclude one way or another, though. And maybe I shouldn't ask for it that way, but
you should.
As a fan, like it's just. I'm just hanging on.
We already got the bad news today. Now, it didn't officially happen, but if it does, well, then we already went through the bad texts and tweets. Like it's softened.
Yeah.
But if he comes back, it's like, oh, Nelly, I feel alive again. I just want them to figure that out either way. There are 3 players I want back and re-signed right now. That's Jalen Hurts, that's Darius Slay, that's Aaron Nola. Can we please get extensions for these men hammered out? Because I need it in my life.
I got to ask a quick question. Is Rhys Hoskins 4th on that list?
No, and that's only because he ain't coming back even if I wanted him.
Okay.
He ain't coming back. Derek Hall and Alec Bowen will be your first baseman in 2024.
Okay.
But let's get through 23 first.
That's fair. I just because we've talked about it a little bit, and
yeah, they're just not going to bring him back. You can only have so many $20 million players. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Rhys is going to get 16 to 20 on the open market. He's a Scott Boras client and a first baseman in a league where first basemen kind of stink. So, yeah, he's going to get his bag, and it ain't going to be with us. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. We're going to live. We always have the bat spike.
All I can ask for Rhys Hoskins is he gets that Pat Barrel send-off at the end of the year.
It's simple as this, dude. He's in a contract year. He ain't hitting 2 anymore. He's going to hit somewhere between 4th and 6th. Rhys Hoskins is going to have the best year of his career. Yeah. And when you think about it that way, he's going to be a weapon in the middle of the lineup as opposed to being overexposed at the top of it. We're going to see the best version of Rhys this year. That might change the Phillies' minds, but it also will price him out of the Phillies' wallet. So I'm okay with getting one more great year and then moving on.
Nick just had a comment that made me smile. I know it's not true, but it made me smile. He said it'll be impossible with us adding a $50 million deal with Ohtani.
Ohtani?
It makes me smile.
Yeah. If only we didn't have Schwarber, Castellanos, and Harper for our DH candidates already, I would have lumped the Phils in there with like a 5% chance earlier. There is a 0.0% chance Ohtani is going to come to the East Coast and have it not be New York. He wants West Coast or he wants New York. And that's what it's going to be. He's not going to be a Texas Ranger. Maybe. He's not going to be a Brave or a Cardinal. He's going to be in LA or New York. That's just simple as that.
Who will be leadoff? Topper has said it himself already. It's going to be Trey Turner to start off the season.
I think he said caveated.
He said until Bryce gets back. That was what I heard today. Yeah.
But for the love of all things holy, it's got to be that way forever. You saw it in Trey Turner's first spring training game. He hit a single, he stole a base, and Schwarber drove him in. Like, can we please just get over it? Give me Trey Turner.
Unless it's Bryce Harper.
Give me Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, JT, Bryce. That's my top 4.
Bryce, Trey, Kyle. You break it up.
Brother, I already had to endure 2021 when Harper hit 30 solo shots, and I already had to endure 2022 when Schwarber hit like 34 solo shots. I am tired of our boppers.
You know what I love about those solo shots? Being up 1-0 to start the game.
Right, I'd rather be up 2. He's still going to bat in the first inning.
Checks out.
He's still going to be hitting in the first inning of every game, dude.
So again, my
guaranteed.
I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too, but you know my theory that Bryce Harper is the modern age prototype for leadoff hitter. Not only
so is Trey Turner.
Trey Turner he's the everyday prototype. Modern, past, present, future.
He could be the best player on our team. Like right now, overall, skill set, offense, defense, special teams.
He's the best. He's the best hitter in baseball for the past 3-4 years. One of
28 since 2018. He's the best hitter in baseball.
Silver Slugger last year. I mean, yeah.
And he's fantastic defensively. He has his ups and downs, but overall, he's a pretty fantastic defender. He's obviously got speed to burn. He could be the overall best player on the team. I'm going to give it to Harper, but Trey Turner, that's like a 1A, 1B situation.
This middle infield hasn't been good since our heyday as fans. Like this middle infield.
That is 100% correct.
And look,
J-Roll and Chase.
I'm not the J-Roll is a Hall of Famer. Chase is a borderline. So I'm not like that's really unfair for me to like put Stott in that echelon. But that's how good Trey Turner is, and that's how
good Stott could be.
Word for word, what I was going to say. That's where I think that Stott can go. Not necessarily.
Not to be Chase. Not Chase.
Exactly. And I never want to put that pressure on a player that wears the word Phillies across his chest. Because
you might as well have him wear number 26.
Chase Utley, he's the
only Chase Utley that will ever be Chase Utley.
Exactly. But Stott and Turner as a duo can certainly be up there, and if the success of it all depends on the success of the team at the end of the day. Hey, you guys go out there and win 1, you go out there and win 2, then you're already a better combo. Forget what the numbers say. You win more than 1, and Philadelphia, that's all we care about. If you go on Facebook.com/WarRoomPhilly, if you go on there, we had a thing about retiring numbers that people want to retire the number 9 because of one game. Like the number 9,
3 games.
I'm not here.
3 games.
Right, yeah. And then they'll go the 27-2 season. Like that had anything to do with Eagles history. Look, I get it, and
he did throw 7 touchdowns against the Raiders.
I'm not here to diss Nick Foles, but it feels like I always have to be in the side who it's like defending logic when it comes to
He's
Nick
got
Foles.
A statue, that's enough.
Exactly. Like just because you won the Super Bowl, it doesn't retire a number. Ron Jaworski does not have his number retired. I'm sorry, Nick Foles doesn't deserve to have his number retired. I don't know how I got here.
His statue's enough. I think we were talking about Trey Turner.
I don't know how I got here.
Did you do a Union Minute? Was that...
but yeah.
So the Wings are on this weekend. A little lacrosse action.
But yeah.
You've been watching the XFL?
I haven't.
Yeah, bro. I watched one game. I watched like a little bit of a lot of games, but I watched one full game. I think I'm good.
Yeah, look, I did that experiment with He Hate Me back in 2002.
They're trying to make AJ McCarron the face of the XFL, and I'm like, he couldn't even be the face of a backup of like the backups in the NFL.
I tell you what, Carson Wentz is destined for that league.
Oh yeah, dude, yeah.
Because I could see Carson Wentz being the guy to his credit, he doesn't want to back up. I think that's I think it's an
Nah,
admirable
no,
trait.
I don't.
Look,
I don't.
again, it's admirable to a point. Then when you're being a dickhead because you're on the bench and you can't stay healthy nor perform, then it's not admirable.
It's admirable if you deserve it.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. It's to
He
a
doesn't.
point. So, but yeah,
he had 14 good games in his career.
So Eagles back up next year.
I think I put that in the group text.
You started this, yeah. That's why I figured I'd bring it up on air too. Just so that I could say let's do the deal and bring in Marcus Mariota, because Jacoby Brissett, that was a it almost felt like it was going to be a done deal that Jacoby Brissett was going to be the backup quarterback.
Yeah, now he's with the vaunted Washington Commanders.
He's
competing with Sam Howell. Sam Howell and Jacoby. Wow.
It's better than Tyler Heineke. And,
I liked Heineke, dude.
He's gonna be. Where did he sign today? The Falcons? He signed today too, I think.
I believe he went to the Falcons.
But yeah. I think you bring in grade 8 and you do the deal, and you Marcus Mariota, and you just let me fanboy for one season. Please.
Is it sad? What's it say about me that when you said the grade 8, I thought of Nick Castellanos? What does that say about me?
If anything, it should be Ovechkin, right? But
I am just like, I'm such a Castellanos apologist.
If Nick Castellanos hits a home run, we win the World Series. Man,
he hit one today.
I died on that hill. Today.
Dude.
Yeah. He's taken the walks. He's looked better this I mean,
his swing decisions are better. It's not showing in the average yet.
But from what I hear is he's putting on shows during BP, which is
he's putting on shows when he puts the bat on the ball during the game.
Yeah.
He's hit 2 monster opposite field homers. He's laying off the slider low and away. And he's swinging at pitches he should. It'll come. I'm not worried about Nick Castellanos yet. I think this is the renaissance that we needed. He's not going to be as good as he was in 2021, where he hit 314, 34, 90, 99, I think it was. Like, he's not going to be that good, but I don't need that good. I need 275, 20, and 80. Give me that from Castellanos. It's fine.
Shout out to Mitch. It's the second comment in chat. This one made me laugh. Nick's made me smile. Mitch made me laugh when he said, "Watch Wentz go to the XFL and still get benched."
for AJ McCarron.
Oh man. But yeah, I guess getting back to the Eagles and kind of in the final thought. Oh my God, it's 9:45. It's almost time for first pitch. We said we got a hard 10 o'clock cutoff, so we're coming up into the final thought segment and portion of the show, which sounds perfect when you start talking about Carson Wentz getting benched for the XFL.
Yeah, I think we've hit our ceiling.
So yeah, chat, and if you're joining us late, feel free to throw in anything. We got a couple more minutes.
Alexander Madison got double the money Penny did. That term just came out. He re-signed with the Vikings, 2 years, $7 million. So he got double the years and I don't know, 7 times the money. So like the Penny deal looks better and better as all these other running backs are getting paid. A 1-year prove it deal isn't the worst thing possible. That's where I'm at.
So my favorite term in sports is I love a player that's hungry. What does that mean? That means they're playing for their money. That's why I love this Reese being on a 1 year. Like, having players on a 1-year deal is the best thing that you can have as a general manager. When we won in 2008, if you go back and look at how many people were on contract years, they were money motivated. And that's kind of why I thought last year was going to work so well for the Eagles. And Howie, I mean, it's putting him behind the 8 ball now, but that's why Howie didn't want to make any of these signings and didn't want to, I'm not going to try to talk to Hargrave because I don't want to piss this guy. I don't want to ruin team chemistry. Also, I want all these players playing for their next paycheck because it might win me a Super Bowl. And, we came 3 points shy of that. Still hurts. It's all of those things is why you thought last year was going to be so special. And that's what is going to make this offseason kind of such a challenge for Howie. And it's why, it's not that they're going to be worse, but they're going to be different. Hopefully that means they're not going to be worse. But
honestly, though, they're just going to be different on defense. The offense is coming back.
Yeah, you're going to have a different running back room per se. But look,
that's it.
No disrespect to Miles Sanders.
New running back.
Huge Miles Sanders fan, right? But with this offensive line, I take that running back room.
Miles
still
is
take that.
making 5 times the amount of money Penny is.
Yep.
5
Yeah.
times.
So you're gonna go ahead and spend that money somewhere else. We've seen them do it so far, and I think all of Philadelphia, we all feel that at least one of the two at this point is coming back between CJ
Yeah.
and Slay.
That's why CJ hasn't signed yet, dude. It's
So-
it's going to be day 4 and he hasn't signed yet. That tells you he's giving the Eagles the best chance, and he's willing to wait out the situation, which all kudos to him, because when he first got here, he wanted his bag. He wanted his money. And I love your dad. No, I'm not trying to troll you, my friend. I promise. He said I'm trying to piss him off because I'm talking up the Penny deal. I don't love it, but at the same time, it's 1 year and $1 million. Like, what do you care? You know?
Yeah, it's one of those things where you can cut, like, you can kind of just cut bait and run with it, at any point. So it's
if you give me a penny, I'll give you a sermon about how Rashad can gain well in the right system.
Thank you. Good night.
And then Boston Scott likes Rocket League. That's how I'll bring him into this.
Dude is so good at Rocket League. Look, this is not, for as good as he is at football, he's even better at Rocket League, and that's impressive.
Wow.
No, Rocket League is hard. I'm out here with like 400 hours, and I'm low plat. Like it's rough in these streets.
I lost to Sam, so I'm done.
Rocket League's one of those games that looks so simple.
He beat my ass, dude.
It looks so simple, and then you play it, and you're like, oh my god, how do you do this?
This game is not. When you play somebody who knows what they're doing, forget about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and look, say what you want. It's worth something that he's a pro at that level as well, because esports is probably more cutthroat than pro sports when it comes to, like, oh, you're not 17 and on 2 times the prescription strength of Adderall that you should be. You're not on this team anymore. So it's wild. And he's like, I've seen him compete with their pro team. Like he's not there for a shtick. But I digress. Hold on. Yeah, let's see. What did I go through? Oh, real quick.
Oh man, your dad just went vicious. I'm not gonna say it, but Joe, that was vicious, brother.
Is Slay the best cornerback to ever wear midnight green? So modern era.
Tio.
Cornerback.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm effing with you. I mean, really, the competition is Lito and Sheldon.
Or someone said
Asante?
Troy Vincent today. And I had to look it up, and Troy Vincent had some Pro Bowls and some All Pros as well. So Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I don't know. I from like at their peak, I'd probably say, because Slay, when he got here, was already aging. He wasn't done, but he came off one of his worst years ever before he came here. A lot of that's Matt Patricia and just the dissolving relationship in Detroit. But I'd probably say, just on talent alone, probably Asante, then Slay, then Vincent, then Lito, then Sheldon. That's what I'd probably say.
I thought I was the biggest Asante Samuel fan in Phil. Apparently, I'm the biggest Darius Slay fan in Philadelphia. Because first of all, I'm shocked. I thought that everybody hated Asante Samuel. So the fact that we got his name as soon as I brought this up, and then you also brought it up. All right, props.
Just on talent alone, maybe the results weren't there, but there was no doubt he's a gifted cornerback.
I love me some Asante Samuel. Go ahead and say all the good things you want about him.
Nnamdi Asomugha should have.
I wanted him to draft Asante's kid last
year.
Yeah.
Chargers killing it. Mm-hmm. I played my brother in Madden, and Asante Samuel Jr. had 6 interceptions. I won 24-0. Then I played my 10-year-old nephew. He said, "Don't take it easy on me." I beat him 65-10. He was like, "I never want to play you in Madden again, Uncle Greg."
Playing humans in Madden is rough. I like playing Madden just against the computer.
I'm very good. I'm very good on defense in Madden. Very good at the user pick. I'm very good. Yeah. That's kind of my bread and butter. I run the same 3 plays on offense. So if you figure that out, you got me beat. It'll be a low scoring affair. I think Nnamdi too, on talent alone or perceived talent should have been up there, but he was good with Oakland because nobody ever targeted him. He was never forced because everybody thought he was Jalen Ramsey style. But no, he was just a fraud. He's terrible. Terrible.
Yeah. So yeah, I again, my list was maybe Asante, maybe Troy Vincent. Again, I remember the Lido and Sheldon Brown, but those two were a great duo, and you know, same to me. That's how I saw Bobby Taylor and Troy Vincent. Saw them more as a duo, and then again, I looked up Troy Vincent's stats, and I was like, okay, like he's. I was young, but he's better than I thought. He's in the Hall of Fame, like, but he also kind of made a second career as a safety later in the game too. But yeah, again, I just thought it'd be a fun thing because I think like 3 or 4 Eric Allens from shout out to the boomers.
Facebook.
Shout out to the Facebook boomers who can't read.
Yeah. People are still using Facebook.
So it's like, okay, Reed, first off, I didn't say greatest Eagle. I said Midnight Green. You gotta
I mean, that's a pretty like that you are cutting the line thin there.
I did it because I knew I would get several Eric Allens just so I could debate them. So yeah, no,
that's like saying who's the greatest Philly to wear powder blue. Although technically that's our alternate right now.
Yeah, so
like it's kind of you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who's
so
the best Sixer to wear black?
Basically, what I was asking was
Aaron McKee.
Who's the best? Who is the best cornerback of our lifetime? Was kind of what
that's
I was
all you had to say. Yeah, but then you'd have the boomers that are 80 that would still say, "Oh, and back in my day, it was Mike Quick." It's like Mike Quick was a wide receiver in the 80s.
You see, we got goalie needs to stand on his head in chat. But yeah, one Patrick Robinson, yeah, that was a good one. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, well, that one pick he had was fantastic.
We mentioned the No City Six, yeah. So we ran through all the notes that I took tonight. Well, since then, any other final thoughts for tonight, Greg?
Yes, I have two final thoughts. One, hashtag Nick Castellanos bounce back begins now. 2, this is like actually kind of anti-Eagles, but it's not. It's actually anti-NFL. And I've been wanting to say this on the record for a very long time. So this is very cool that I have a little platform here to do that. And I could be wrong, but I'd like to think that I'm not. I think the NFL is a friggin' joke. A joke. Because they know that whatever they do, no one's going to stop watching. And all this Twitter minority stuff of the silent, the loud Twitter mob, which is a very, very small percent of the actual viewing population, they are irrelevant. They will not affect the ratings. The NFL can get away with whatever they want. But I think it is a friggin' travesty and an embarrassment that Eric Bieniemy didn't get a head coaching job. I think it's a joke. He outcoached Jonathan Gannon in the Super Bowl. The same play, 2 touchdowns, opposite sides of the field, just toyed with us. Didn't get a head coaching job this offseason. But both Eagles coordinators who couldn't get the job done, both got head coaching jobs, and quick. And that to me is a travesty. This isn't even the first year Bieniemy's been overlooked. He's been overlooked again and again and again. But the Eagles were supposed to be this super roster, this amazing team. And screw Nick Sirianni. He had nothing to do with it. Screw Steichen, screw Gannon. They had nothing to do with it. It's the roster. The roster's good. Anybody can win with this roster. Well, if that was the case, then why did both coordinators of this super team get head coaching jobs over the dude that frickin' deserved it? And now you have Bieniemy in Washington. In Washington, he basically took a lateral move to stay the OC, but also get that assistant coaching job. Dude, it's a frickin' travesty that Frank Reich got a job before him again. It's a frickin' travesty that that Jonathan Gannon is a head coach and Eric Bieniemy is not. I am pissed. I am so pissed. And this has nothing to do with the color of any skin. It has something to do with skill set, intelligence, and quite frankly, I guess I already said it. Skill. Bieniemy has what it takes to be a head coach. He must be the worst interviewer on planet Earth if he didn't get a job. And I just think it sucks. It sucks that you have this guy who has deserved to be a head coach for years get overlooked while dudes like Jonathan Gannon are the talk of the town in Arizona. Jonathan Gannon is going to flop in Arizona, not only because he has a crappy roster, but because he's an exposable coach. Oh, he's the nicest guy. He's so smart. His strategy's off the rails. Come on. Jonathan Gannon never beat a good quarterback. And I do subscribe to that notion. Whereas Eric Bieniemy destroyed great defenses, including ours, in the Super Bowl. I think it's an embarrassment that that man is still not a head coach. I'm off my soapbox.
I have no idea how Arizona can go, we need a head coach. We have Kyler Murray. We're going to build around Kyler Murray. And they go, Jonathan Gannon is the guy and not Eric Bieniemy. Not that it's any... I got no dog in the fight. Like, I guess if anything, I want the Cardinals to fail because they're in the NFC, right? So, yeah, to me... when the rumors were happening pre-Super Bowl, I'm like, oh, well, it's going to be Bieniemy. He's perfect for that job. How could you not? And then it's Jonathan Gannon was the one you took? Yeah, that was... I saw in chat, there's got to be something that we don't know, and I hope that it's not something that's all in the back of our minds. You kind of brought it up, and it's like, I hope that's really not the reason in 2023. But yeah, it's like you said, it's either that or it's because he's just...
the worst interviewer.
Really that bad of an interview, but at some time, like, you got to just go, I don't care about an interview. I'm going to look at this guy's track record.
I will give you the example, the only example you need. Nick Sirianni's introductory press conference.
Oh my God.
He was laughed out of the building
before he was ever getting a shot.
And 2 years later, he's arguably the most successful coach in the city because he's had a little bit more time than Topper. He took his team to the playoffs both years, got him to the Super Bowl in his second year. He's the most successful coach in the city right now. And he is like on a pedestal. Nobody wants to get rid of him. We all love Nick. I love Nick. Brother, everybody wanted him gone at that original press conference. Who cares about the interview room? I want the X's and O's, and Bieniemy deserves the shot. Ron Rivera ain't going nowhere, dude. So it's not like he's getting groomed by Ron Rivera in Washington. Yeah, maybe he is. I don't know how many years left Rivera has, but he's Ron freaking Rivera. So it has to be. It just has to be. Bieniemy will be the next coach of the Cowboys when they fire Mike McCarthy. That's the only prediction I can give, and I think that that's actually a really good, has a good shot of happening. But Bieniemy deserves it, man, and that's where I'll draw the line.
I don't want that to happen because that would make them a viable contender.
Yeah, God forbid.
Giving them someone like a good head coach.
Elliott Shore Parks did the math. Miles Sanders got 26 times the amount of guaranteed money than Rashad Penny. 26 times the amount of guaranteed money than Rashad Penny. I'm good.
Who was that? What player? I missed the start of that. I'm sorry.
Miles Sanders got 26 times more money than.
Again, I'm a huge Miles Sanders fan, and in an ideal world, you could have brought him back for $5 million a year, and it's not an ideal world. It's a world where Jalen Hurts is going to get that bag. Your defense has got talent at the wazoo, and you got to go and try to pay that talent as much as you can within the salary cap. So yeah, it's again, you're in the NFC. I wish you some luck, but not all the luck. You're a competitor against us. When you come here, I stand and I'll applaud. And but as far as Miles Sanders not coming back, it's not. That's not the move I'm upset about. Right now, I'm still upset about the limbo that is Darius Slay and/or Garner Johnson. Right now, again, because I see Mitch and I were talking earlier, and he said, "How are you feeling?" And this was right after the sign. I am untethered, and my rage knows no bounds, a la the Dennis Reynolds gif. But now it's just I'm in this limbo, and I'm kind of waiting it out and seeing what our secondary looks like in 48 hours, because I think that's the next move that happens. It's
10 o'clock. I'd like it to be 48 minutes.
Absolutely.
Can we just get this done?
Yeah. I'll be up. I'm about to watch some Team USA baseball.
Dude.
It is 10 o'clock. That is our hard cutoff. So
yeah.
With that, let's start plugging away and anything else. So any other? I think we got your final thought. That was the Eric Bieniemy, right?
Yeah.
Well then go ahead and give yourself. We started at the top, but give where can we find you these days, Greg?
Yeah. Anthony and I started this show 12 years ago. I left in 2014. I was kind of throwing around some different podcast ideas. I finally landed on one with our friend Sam. For the last 7 years, we've been doing We Podcast and We Know Things. Long title, but I promise it's worth it. We Podcast and We Know Things. Little Game of Thrones reference for you there, Tyrion Lannister fans. We talk about everything under the sun, pop culture related. We just did a bonus episode for 2 hours recapping the entire first season of HBO's The Last of Us. As a lover of that game franchise, Sam too. Anthony Pinto came on our show a couple weeks ago. We did a Pokemon Presents recap for an hour and 45 minutes. Like, we go hard, we go long. We're doing a new episode in 2 weeks. We are going to go about 4 hours, I think. The episode's going to go right now. Just to give you a little hint, we're going to be talking about John Wick 4, Ant-Man, Cocaine Bear, and Creed 3, because we saw those. The Mandalorian, Yellow Jackets, Ted Lasso, Lucky Hank, and Resident Evil 4. That's all the stuff we've watched and played in the past month, and we're going to have impressions of all of that. So if you love gaming, music, movies, TV, I'm a huge TV guy. Come over, check us out. We Podcast and We Know Things. You can find us wherever you get your Audible goodness, Spotify, Apple, we're on 30 plus podcast services. We come out with 1 episode a month because after 7 years of doing it every single week, I cannot do it anymore every single week. But I hope you come and join us. We Podcast and We Know Things. We won't let you down.
Yeah, and again, selfishly, I'll plug the Pokemon show I was on, but like unselfishly, listen to all of their shows. It's always my like little getaway. Anytime I need the hard break from Philly sports, We Podcast, We Know Things is my go-to.
If you think I talked a lot tonight, wait till you hear how much I talk on that show. If you like the sound of my voice, subscribe.
So yeah, with that, man, it has been a fun one. We went all around the world tonight. This was I guess we didn't talk too much about the Sixers, but we went Union. We did a full little 5 for 5 tonight. So yeah, it's I appreciate you coming on for me, but now it's time to go watch World Baseball Classic. So with that, I'm Anthony Pinto.
I'm Greg Hall.
And we are out of here.